Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Pat Callahan. Maine is a state which typically has a very high voter turnout for presidential elections. For instance, in 2020, about 76% of Maine's voting age population participated in the election, which was second in the nation after Minnesota. In fact, between the years of 2000 and 2020, Maine consistently ranked in the top 5 states for eligible voter turnout rate. And that's due in part to Maine's same-day voter registration policy, which was implemented in the 1970s. And with absentee voting becoming more and more popular, one may expect this trend to continue. Absentee voting played a role in this year's election. As the ballots started to come in, it looked as though this was going to be a big year for voter participation. And while it was a bigger turnout than the last off-year election, it wasn't quite a state record. News Center Maine's Jackie Mundry breaks down the numbers.
Nearly 38% of Mainers voted in the most recent election. That's more than double the number of Mainers who voted 2 years ago. Maine Secretary of State Sheena Bellows says this is likely because of Question 1, the controversial CMP corridor project.
That's what our office heard the most about.
During last year's election, more than 60% of Mainers voted by absentee because of the pandemic. Early numbers looked like this would be another strong year for election turnout.
We saw incredibly strong absentee ballot turnout ahead of Election Day, making us think that perhaps turnout was going to exceed prior records.
But that wasn't the case. About a quarter of the votes cast were absentee ballots. Still, Bellows says this trend isn't going anywhere.
Absentee voting, being able to vote early, either in person or through the mail up to 30 days prior to the election, is a convenience that is here to stay.
Now, the Secretary of State's office has turned its focus to next year's gubernatorial race. Bellows' office is already focusing on potential supply chain issues, making sure the election machines are working properly, and working with federal election leaders and national security officials on cybersecurity to be prepared if foreign threats try to interrupt our elections. Jackie Mundry, News Center, Maine.
On Friday, Governor Mills issued a proclamation certifying the election results from earlier this month, which means Question 3, which addresses the right to food, is now part of the state constitution. The other 2 questions will take effect 30 days after that proclamation.